wakes up several times a night to go to the bathroom. Are you the person who nobody wants to go on a road trip with because you have to stop every 20 minutes to go to the bathroom? Me, that's me, everybody. I literally have to dehydrate myself. I get dehydrated because I refuse to drink anything before a road trip because I'm so nervous about it. Well, many of us suffer with incontinence and or overactive bladders. And I use the word suffer intentionally. I'm always thinking about where the closest bathroom is. I walk into a restaurant or a venue and I immediately know and locate where they are. I don't want that anxiety anymore. Well, welcome back, because this is our third and final episode in our expert series about pelvic floor issues. And if you missed the first two, I'll show you where to find them later. But for now, back in the nest, we have our favorite pelvic floor physical therapist, Brooke Green from Drescher Physical Therapy here, who's going to talk about incontinence and overall bladder health. I'm Jody Silverman, everybody, certified life coach, founder of the Moms Who Dare community, and your host of In the Nest. It's time to get real about these real issues. Welcome back, Brooke.
Thanks, Jody.
I mean, we've had great conversations. First, we talked about what pelvic floor is all about. Then we talked about that painful sex is a real thing and that it can be helped, and it can be helped by, visiting your OBGYN, but it can also be helped by a pelvic floor specialist, a therapist such as yourself. Well, this is in particular is, a topic that I'm excited to talk to you about, bladder health. Because I do. I mean, I wake up about twice a night, but I know people who tell me they wake up 4 or 5 times a night. And I know that I take it back. I wake up about once a night, but I know that that's not normal, and we shouldn't have to have interrupted sleep like that, because now we're interrupting our sleep. But why don't we start with maybe you again, introducing yourself again for those who may not have seen the first 2 episodes, and then maybe clarify what falls under the heading of bladder health.
Yeah, so I'm a pelvic floor therapist, as you said. A typical physical therapist treat the whole body, but if you're dealing with anything that's bugging you below the belt, then I definitely treat it. That's a safe assumption. And bladder health is a pretty general term, but most people just don't know what is normal. They just think, I've always gone pee hourly my whole life, so it doesn't bother me. But there's things that maybe don't bother you now, but they might bother you down the road. And it's important to know what's normal, what's not. So bladder health is, a normal voiding interval when you go pee every 2 to 4 hours during the day. If you're less than 65, you don't wake up at night ideally, or after that it's once a night. But those are things that just, they bother some people more than others. If you suffer from insomnia and you wake up at night to go pee, then it might really bother you and you might seek my help sooner. But if it doesn't, people just get complacent and they say, well, I wake up 4 or 5 times, but I just fall back asleep. But it's something to think about, what normal is.
So you're saying normal voiding, urinating, emptying your bladder every 2 to 4 hours?
Yes, during the day.
I can tell you that I am much more frequent. Now, you and I talked privately about this too, but I mean, I drink an awful lot. So, if you're like me and you're somebody who literally can go once an hour, sometimes twice in an hour, what would you say to somebody like me? Like, that could be a heads up of what I should maybe be aware of what I'm doing.
Yeah. So when you first come in to see me, everyone completes a big, thorough health history, but one of the questions I ask is, what do you drink during the day and how much? Because some people, it's as simple as, oh, I drink a pot of coffee every day and that's it. I kid you not. But they didn't really mention it to their doctor didn't ask them that question, and they didn't know it's a bladder irritant and a diuretic and it makes you go pee more. So I'm not here to say, oh, you can never have coffee again or anything of fun. It's just a matter of, let's look at what your habits are and address that, because if you drink a pot of coffee a day, you're going to go pee very often.
Is it coffee in general, decaf or caffeinated, or is it the caffeine in the coffee?
It's the caffeine in the coffee. Decaf still has technically a little bit of caffeine, but the full force stuff tends to really irritate the bladder.
All right. So bottom line is, if you're voiding more than 2 to 4 hours a day and you don't feel like you are drinking an inordinate amount of fluids, caffeinated or not, it's time to ask the question and go see someone.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. And then you said something interesting. You said 65 or under 65, not
Don't wake
waking
up
up
at all.
at all. I have to tell
Some
you,
sources will say once, but a lot of the literature out there is that we shouldn't wake up at all at night.
I'm 54 and I don't know any of my friends who don't wake up to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Do you know, I got to tell you, as I'm sitting here, and this is something that's just popping up. We didn't talk about this. That you know, when my mom was my age, they didn't have water bottles. Look what's sitting next to me, right?
Yeah.
We are obsessed with water bottles. We have water everywhere we go. We're told water, water, water. And I mean, now that I'm here saying that, I mean, that has to have something to do with this.
Yeah, it could definitely. People are more aware and more health conscious, but then the people who are suffering from incontinence,
Yeah.
sometimes they restrict, like you said, you dehydrate yourself for
Right.
car rides and things like that.
Yes.
And then actually, you think they're doing themselves a favor when they have the leakage side of things, but then it's the bad on that end of things too, because your urine becomes so concentrated and that irritates your bladder lining. And then that can give you more urgency and frequency, even though your bladder's not really full.
So highly concentrated urine can cause urges of frequency.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not know
Like
that.
the coffee that we said, alcohol, tea, all those things can be bladder irritants. But your own concentrated urine too is something you don't think of, but that can be irritating.
I did not know that. That's a fun fact. That's a good fact to have. So you keep mentioning leakage. Let's talk about leakage. Now, sneezing, coughing, jumping, running. I mean, yes, yes, yes to all of that at times for myself. And I know that's normal. Look, I'm bearing it all, everybody. I just want you to know that I feel like if I'm hosting this, I got to share a little bit. What do we do about that? And how much leakage is normal? And how much leakage is like cause to concern to say, okay, Brooke, I need your help?
Yeah, so no amount of leakage is normal. People think, well, I've had children, I'm going to leak. My mom did, everyone I know does, but that doesn't mean it has to be your new normal. It's common, but it is not normal. It's not something we have to live with.
Say that again, because that's a big difference.
It's common, but it's not normal. And it doesn't have to be your new normal. It doesn't matter if you've suffered from it for 5 days or 5 years. It's never too late to address it because muscles are typically the contributing factor and our bodies are so resilient. You can address this stuff at any time. It's just knowing how to. So the type of incontinence you described is stress incontinence. That's when we have increased pressure in the abdomen and we leak, like a sneeze, cough, laugh, lifting, bending, exercise. Then there's the urge type of incontinence, and that's when you have to go really bad, you just can't get there in time, a little bit comes out on the way to the bathroom. And sometimes people have a combination of the two, and we refer to that as mixed incontinence.
Okay, so there's 2 types of incontinence. Stress incontinence, with is the exercising, laughing, sneezing, jumping, running, and urge, which is the frequency like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get there. And you do say food and drink really do impact the type of food and drink and the quantity for urge.
Exactly.
There's a lot here. There's a lot. So what are some of the, I'm curious, what are some of the things that you you do as a pelvic floor therapist to help somebody who has stress and or urge incontinence?
Yeah, so when I do my pelvic exam, I look to make sure where on the spectrum does your pelvic floor muscle fall? Is it too tense? Is it too weak? Do we need to strengthen? Oftentimes we need to do a little combination of those things. I will have people complete a bladder diary, and sometimes we're just not aware of what we drink, how often, when. So I'll do a basic average day for you, have you tell me what you drank, when did you go pee? If you want to get really technical, measure it, and we'll have a true input output, but we can get into all those things when you leak, and then we review it together and figure out strategies to either one, teach you how to retrain your bladder. Like in your case, when you mentioned you go often, I have some tips and tricks and things that we can do to help your bladder learn to start holding that 1 to 2 cups and try to get your window a little bit longer there.
All right, so here, true or false? I'm cheating because I found out the answer before, but that you know how we tell our 2-year-old, we're going, so you're going to go to the bathroom before we leave the house. Is that something we as adults should be doing as well?
No. So it is
I did
individual.
not
So
know that.
if you're going out on a car ride, you don't know where the next bathroom is, I'll say go. But part of the whole process is being mindful and figuring out and thinking about, all right, when did I use the bathroom last? If I used it 10 minutes before and then, oh, I'm going to go again just because I'm going out the door, there's no way your bladder filled up in that time. So think about where you're going, what you're doing, but try to get out of the habit of just in case or jicking, we even call it, because you're just reinforcing that signal to your bladder that you need to empty, and then it can result in more of that overactive bladder syndrome and feeling like you have to go all the time when your bladder's not full. You know, people come in and they complain, I feel like I have to go, Brooke, but I go sit down and only a little bit comes out. So, you know, there's always the consult to the urologist, always seeing your healthcare providers, making sure there's nothing wrong. But a lot of times it's habits, it's old habits that die hard. Teachers who go in between every student or class because they just take the opportunity. I don't have to go, but I have to try.
Worry. That's assuming everything's fine and normal and there's no underlying issue. That's the retraining part.
Yeah, that's where we can come in and teach you how to go about doing that.
It's not just about holding it in.
There's tricks to help it be more successful. Distraction being
booking
a
my
powerful
appointment when we're finished with this episode. All right. So, well, I mean, you know, I'm laughing, but it's true. I mean, there are times where I have said, there's no way I have to go. Even though I feel, and I stop, and I don't know if this is right or not, but I might even do a Kegel.
It is.
and then I realize, oh my God, a half an hour's gone by and I'm good.
Exactly.
That's a little retraining.
It's a little piece of it. Kegels can be part of it for the right patient, but distraction, if you got busy doing something else, I mean, how many of us have been in the grocery store or out shopping somewhere and we think, oh, I have to go, but I just want to get back home. And the next thing you know, you're back home, you unpacked your groceries, you forgot all about it.
Yes.
So distraction can definitely be a powerful tool too.
Okay. No, that has happened to me. That's a very good example. So, all right. Can you leave us with 3 tips on how we can take better care and have good bladder health, better bladder health?
So stay hydrated. As tempted as you might be to restrict your fluids, stay hydrated within reason. You don't need to drink 2 gallons of water a day because that's bad too. But, you know, keep your bladder lining and everything happy there. Limit what bladder irritants you do drink, that coffee, tea, wine, beer, all the fun stuff. You don't want to go too crazy on those. And also just making sure your bowels are moving well too, because sometimes that contributes to needing to urinate more too. If things are backed up a little bit, they just sit right on top of your bladder and cause more urgency and frequency.
But no, Brooke, thank you. Thank you so much. The episodes we have done and had you on have been so informative, and so they're gonna help so many women maybe get over the embarrassment and dare to contact you or another health provider that will direct them to you. But Brooke is a physical therapist who has a specialty and focus on pelvic floor therapy, and she works currently out of Drescher Physical Therapy. They have 2 locations in Fort Washington and in Bluebell. I promise to post all of Brooke's contact information and how you can find her at Drescher Physical Therapy. I promise I will do that. And I just want to thank you so much again, Brooke. Really, it's been a pleasure, and it's been fun and educational. You know.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes, if you're gonna have fun talking about pelvic floor, we're having fun. Everybody, listen. If you have a topic that you would like to see discussed on a future episode of In the Nest, or maybe you want to be the person sitting with me in the nest talking about the topic, head over to jodysilverman.com. Contact me. Everything about In the Nest is at jodysilverman.com. Everything about the Moms Who Dare community to help you dare to have these difficult conversations is over at jodysilverman.com. And thank you for watching. Share these episodes. There's 3 in this series. Share these episodes. Tag women you love and care about, and men, but we're really talking about women. Tag women that you care about. And let's start opening up the dialogue. Get rid of the embarrassment and know that everything that's happening to us is normal and that we're not alone. And as I always say, dare on.